Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting of September 19th. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved that the Township of Greater Madawaska calls to order the September 19, 2022 regular council meeting at 5:30 p.m. All in favor? Carried. And please stand for O Canada. Land acknowledgement. As we gather in chambers, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we're meeting on unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And I'll ask everyone if they can please stand again for a moment of silence in recognition of the late Queen Elizabeth. Please be seated. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved that the agenda of the council meeting of September 19, 2022 be approved as presented. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. No delegations tonight. Facilities, we have nothing on the agenda. Public Works, monthly progress report, reconstruction of Ferguson Lake.
So this project is moving along very well. The majority of the work will be done next week. They're paving, or they're hoping to pave the second phase this week, weather permitting, but that may be delayed in recent due to the rain. But we're very close to seeing this project come to an end. We are doing very well. We're under budget. Right now, our projections say that we have a surplus, or we have monies that have not yet been spent of $400,000. So we will be allowing phase 1 and 2 to complete, and then bringing a recommendation to the new council when we know the final amount of money that is remaining on what, if anything, we can do to look at our options to make the most of this grant. So we've done very well on this project to move from doing only 4.8 kilometers to the entire road to potentially doing some additional adjacent roads. So,
questions of council? Okay. Oh, Lucy, sorry.
That's okay. Just Allison, who puts the numbers together that are on page 2 or page 5 of 75? Is it the contractor?
Yes, that comes from our project manager, which
Okay.
is Greenview.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So, and the numbers there are only the construction phase. That's not the entire project
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
Phase 1, right?
of phase 1, yes.
Mhm.
Okay, environmental, we have nothing this evening. Protection. Planning services, 8091, bylaw 59, 2022, zoning bylaw amendment 2206.4, Beck and Peach. So I'll read the recommendation. Just a minute. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that Council approves bylaw 59-2022 to rezone parts of the lands located in part of Lot 15, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Madawaska, from rural to limited services residential, and from limited service residential to rural, to permit the severance of 3 new residential waterfront lots. Eric, did you want to speak to this?
I sure can. Thank you. And through you, Mayor. So this particular application, this is, as you noted through the recommendation, this is a rezoning from rural to limited service residential, and actually vice versa. And the reason that you have zoning kind of moving seemingly in both directions is because the holding itself is currently zoned rural and limited service residential, but the extent of the zones on the property needs to change as a result of the 3 severances in order to make it work. So I guess the long and the short of it is that the limited service residential needs to apply only to lands that don't have frontage on a public road. So the 3 waterfront lots, they don't have frontage on Centennial Lake Road. And then the retained portion has frontage on Centennial Lake Road. And there is a portion of what will be part of the retained lot that's currently zoned limited service residential. And so the county's asked that be changed to rural. So we have a bit of land in the holding going in both directions on this. Ultimately, the zoning of the holding will be as reflected on Schedule B to the draft bylaw. And we have a note on the draft bylaw that says that the fabric will ultimately reflect these severed and retained lots resulting from county file numbers B108, 109, and 11021. So if there are any questions from council, I'll be happy to answer them, but I think those would be my comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Councillor Perrier.
Yep. I think the last time we had the public hearing, Doug Jordan spoke, and I guess his comments were, why are we rushing this? Why can't we hand this off to the new council? So I'm just wondering if anybody's given thought to that.
If I may, that was not this application. That was...
The one for Stones Lake.
Yes.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say, Allison, is that why can't we take these 3 zoning bylaws and hand them off to the next council?
Because this, well, I'm not sure why we would. These applications are ready to proceed. The fees have been paid. The staff is ready to prepare the report. So this has been brought forward to council to make a decision. If council so chooses to defer them, that's their choice, but there is a chance that this could end up before the land tribunal that we didn't proceed the applications in a timely manner. And the planner may be able to speak further to that, but that's why is the reports were ready. You know, the public meetings have been held. So this council is still in effect, and that's why they were brought forward. Okay,
so then was there an issue, maybe Robin can answer this, with the Zoom link? Because my understanding from some of my ratepayers that are both on Stones Lake and the CEL bunch, I don't know about the other ones, that they couldn't get onto the Zoom or the YouTube So therefore, if it's a public hearing, then the public should have access. So I'm not sure what the IT requirements were or what happened.
So they need to register for a meeting. So if someone wants to participate remotely in a public meeting, they need to obtain the link from staff.
Okay,
And so I don't believe those people did. If they have concerns, I would appreciate if they did reach out to me so we can work through those issues, but no one has.
okay, understood. Just one more thing is so their understanding, some of them was that they could access the YouTube through the township website. So I guess that's wrong, right?
So if they wish to participate in the public meeting, they need to obtain the Zoom link to participate. YouTube is to watch.
Okay. Okay, so then the Zoom link has to be accessed.
Requested.
Requested.
It must be requested because we need to know who is attending the public meetings so that we're able to provide them with public or the decision of council.
Okay, okay, that's great, thanks.
Thank you. So as was mentioned by Eric, this is the public, this was brought to us at the public meeting, so a lot of the detail was brought out there. And so I asked, is there any further questions from council on this one particular resolution? So I'll ask for the vote. All in favor of the resolution as presented? Carried. And bylaw 61, 2022, moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved, the council approves bylaw 62-2022 to rezone parts of lands located on Part 11, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Bagot from rural to rural exception 47, and rural holding to facilitate the severance of 3 waterfront residential lots, as well as to prohibit the development of the retained portions of the land until such time as the lands are cleared of archaeological potential. Eric, would you like to speak to this one as well?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Hunt. I'd be glad to. And through you, just a quick clarification. I believe the rural exception number that we're at right now, and you can just clarify that, is 48. I believe the planning technician went through that and clarified, but so I believe we're at rural exception 48 holding, but we'll make sure that that number is correct. So this, go ahead.
Hold on for a second.
Did you flip 2 over?
Yeah, I moved. Yes, okay, let me read the resolution again. I flipped 2 of them instead of 1. Sorry about that. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved, the council approves bylaw 61-2022 to rezone lands described as part of Lot 8, Concession 9, Geographic Township of Bagot from rural to rural exception 48 to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling. Eric.
Thank you, Mayor Hunt. Yep, that sounds good now. So this application was submitted by Mr. Toth, and he owns a leasehold property on Virgin Lake, part of the Calabogie Estates community. There are a number of existing dwellings and a few remaining lots. His is one of them, and the thing with these lots is that they don't. The zoning bylaw doesn't really deal with leasehold developments, and it's kind of silent on them. So we need to have this rezoning in order to treat the leasehold piece as a lot for the purposes of the zoning bylaw, so we can measure setbacks, and so dwelling can be constructed. And there's also a setback requirement or separation distance from the EMR zone, which is the extractive reserve. It's 150 meters is typically required.
Okay.
150 meters is typically required, and that needs to go down to 76 meters. So In support of this, the applicant has submitted the required documentation. They've provided an aggregate impact assessment. A holding symbol will be placed on the property. It's under an acre. And generally speaking, anything under an acre requires a hydrogeological assessment to confirm that it is developable and will meet provincial requirements for water and wastewater. And we did have a public meeting on the 13th, along with the previous application and the next one. We haven't received any written objections. We did receive some questions about development on the property. Actually, I should note we did receive a written email just noting some concerns about development. I guess more broadly, not necessarily with respect to concerns about this particular application, but kind of what's coming. And I put the question to the applicant. They did reach out and to the Calabogie estates directly, and they've advised it sounds like there's 4 other lots, vacant lots within the community that could be developed. One of which we received a zoning bylaw amendment application for. It's not been deemed complete at this time, but that'll move forward in due course. And then the 3 other ones are owned by people who already reside in the community, and it's not anticipated that there are no plans right now for development of those 3 other lots. So that is what's been communicated to us in terms of the existing development potential within the community itself. But we're dealing with this one particular property, and the zoning bylaw amendment is only specific to that piece. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perrier.
If the leasehold conveyance under review was designated unsuitable for a dwelling before, why is it now suddenly suitable? That's one question. And I guess, Eric, I think Mayor Hunt is quite familiar with Calabogie Estates Limited. I'm just wondering, I'm hoping that you're familiar with their process and their executive committee. I did reach out to them today just to make sure, because my concern at the public hearing was that there's people that are for, some people who are against development. And so they have an executive, and I confirmed tonight that everybody agreed. But my other question, and I guess one more thing is, my understanding from ratepayers is that there are questions that you haven't answered yet. So for that reason, I'm not supporting this.
Allison?
If there's questions or if there's concerns with staff, can they please be brought to me and not at a public meeting?
Okay.
Thank you. Eric, are you please able to address Councillor Perrier's questions?
Sure, I'd be glad to, and through you, Mayor Hunt. So the question about why is the property suitable now and wasn't previously, that's not really, it's more of a technical requirement at this point. The lot doesn't kind of fall within the definition of what is considered to be like technically a lot. So, and again, leasehold, and we've gotten a legal opinion on this from the applicant's solicitor to confirm that it functions appropriately as a lot. It's not going to merge in the future. It's conveyable in the same way a freehold property is, and so it's a bit unique, which is why the zoning bylaw doesn't deal with it. The zoning bylaw can't really deal with every particular issue, which is why we need zoning bylaw amendments from time to time. So that would be the answer to that question.
Okay, so I'm going to reiterate, I'm not supporting this because there's still answers that need to be given. And Allison, if you want me to send you the emails that I'm getting and the phone calls, I can do that, but people are not pleased, just so you know. So that's it for me.
So to that point, though, we did have a public meeting, and is that not the place that should have been brought up?
I agree with you totally, Mr. Mayor. However, the people that wanted to be part of the public hearing did not know they had to get authorization from staff to get on to Zoom. So they went to YouTube, couldn't find it. So that's another thing we need to consider.
But those instructions were given out.
Yeah, so we have not changed our process. That has been consistent. So, unfortunately, I was not made aware of this.
I think Robin might have, Allison.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I was not made aware of that. No ratepayer contacted me.
Okay.
So if they did contact another staff, it could have been asking for clarity, but there was actually no complaint with regard to the meeting or any staff on how it proceeded. So I just can't provide any comments to say that, yes, we've received concerns or questions surrounding this because they have not been directed to me.
Okay, sounds good. So just so everybody knows, this is a small lake with a 9.9 maximum for boats. So I guess the residents on both the CEL side and on the side that I live are concerned with intensification, which is not just a concern on Virgin Lake, it's a concern on Kennedy Road and so on and so forth. So my position remains the same. I'm not supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Council, because we did have a public meeting and the rules of the public meeting have been out there for quite some time, is Council comfortable with proceeding with the vote on this? Because I personally am. You're comfortable with proceeding? Okay, so I will.
May I have the vote recorded, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Perrier, are you in favor or not?
I'm not in favor.
Councillor Riegelhoff.
Favor.
Councillor Frost.
In favor.
Councillor McPherson.
In favor.
Mayor Hunt.
In favor.
The motion has passed 4-1.
Thank you. And now the resolution that I was so anxious to get to. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved, the Council approves bylaw 62-2022 to rezone the part of the lands located in part of Lot 11, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Bagot, from rural to rural exception 47 and rural holding to facilitate the severance of 3 waterfront residential lots, as well as to prohibit the development of the retained portion of the lands until such time as the lands are cleared of archaeological potential. So before I open it up to council, we have Alana Zado from Renfrew County here. And although what I'm going to ask Alana to speak to is not really part of the resolution that we're dealing with, but there were questions come up at the public meeting that I think it's good for the public as well as council to hear the process that it had gone through at the county when these severances were granted. So Alana, would you perhaps, good evening, first of all, and would you take us through what the process was at the county for these severances to be approved?
Sure. And with your indulgence, I found an email from the county planner, Anne McVeigh, to Mr. Desjardins when he was with the township as planner. And she laid out a really good summary. So I'm going to go through that summary and then add to it a little bit, if that's okay. 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 So these applications were initially submitted May 10th of 2007. July 5th, the county's planning report identified a need for an archaeological study. July 7th, we received some written concerns from a property owner nearby about lakefront development and water quality. In June of 2007 and October of 2007, we did receive favorable septic comments and township comments subject to conditions received. And then the files kind of went idle, so they sat dormant for quite some time. In 2020, the files were resurrected. No changes were proposed, and updated forms were required to be submitted, and they were filled out and submitted. We received them April 1st. The county planner's report that was done based on circulation. So there was a public circulation that was done, which included a mail notification to property owners within 60 meters of the subject lands. So we take a swath around them and send that out to them. The Planning Act requires a 60-meter notification. That was done. There was also green laminated cards that are prepared by the county and sent out to the applicant for posting at the subject property. So each of the new lots would have received one of those green cards, and the applicant was expected to post those cards. So once that notification is done, there's agency circulation, which included the township, and a planning report is prepared based on information that's provided back from agencies. So on August 5th of 2020, the county planning report that was prepared recommended the applications be held in abeyance once again, subject to the submission of an archaeological assessment, an environmental impact study related to fish habitat, deer wintering area, and impact on lake water quality, and an aggregate impact assessment as well. The applications then sat waiting for the studies to come in. In May of 2020, we received another communication from the property owner who had initially contacted us, wanting to make sure that his concerns and communication previously was carrying forward, which we assured him it was. So in November of 2020, like I said previously, we received favorable septic comments. And in December of 2021, the JP2G consultants of Pembroke prepared a planning justification report dated December 9th of 2021, including a stage 1 and stage 2 archaeological assessment. They also provided a scoped environmental impact study and an aggregate impact study, and that was received, I guess, December 9th. In January of 2021, we also received a planning justification report, and it was forwarded to Mr. Desjardins at the Township, so he could review those comments. We also received Township comments in February of 2021, and they were favorable, subject to the studies identified in our county planning report. The county planner's report reviewed the history of the files, studies, agency, and public comments with recommendations and conditions. And we did send out a final county planning report to the township and to JP2G on behalf of the applicant, and requested the township's comments on that. So favorable comments were received, and we did prepare a decision based on the information that was received from agencies and in consideration of the studies that were provided. And that decision was sent out April 29th of 2022 with an appeal date of May 19th of 2022. No appeals were received, and a letter was sent out to the applicant notifying them that no appeals were received and they should proceed to meet their conditions. And to date, I don't have any of the conditions met, but they do have until April 29th of 2024 to do so. So at this stage right now, we are just waiting for the applicants to meet those conditions before moving forward on it.
So Alana, if that would have been if there was concerns from ratepayers, that would have been through the appeal process, that would have been the time for it to be voiced at the county level?
Well, when that notification goes out with the public notice, we send out a notice of application with a key map attached to the back, and we send those green laminated cards out to the applicant and ask them to post. And basically, property owners in the vicinity or passersby have an opportunity to send in concerns or letters requesting information, basically until we make a decision. So there was a substantial amount of time for that to happen, and we received only the one letter. And I do believe that through the planning process, the concerns were addressed. That's why we were able to go ahead and do prepare a favorable decision on those lots.
Yes, and I believe we did get a call that there had been a letter sent in, but it wasn't to stop the process. It was just to get answers. And that's the
Right.
only one that was received.
That's right.
Okay, questions of council? Councillor Perrier.
So Alana, what are the conditions, Alana, that you alluded to? That's April of 29, is it April 29th, 2023? Or the last conditions that you just described?
Right, through you, Chair, sorry, Mayor Hunt. So the conditions that were posted in the consent decision were that a preliminary plan of survey be provided to the township and to the county,
Okay.
confirming that a building envelope for a dwelling and septic system exists. Then we were looking for a deposited plan of survey based on that preliminary plan and in compliance with the severing sketch that had been submitted with the application. We also required a zoning bylaw amendment be finalized so that the severed lot is rezoned from rural to a rural exception zone that requires a minimum front yard depth of 30 meters from the front lot line. That's abutting Stones Lake Road, as well as a minimum separation from the extractive industrial reserve zone to the south, represented by a minimum 30-meter setback on the severed lot from the lot line along Stones Road, as well as a rezoning of the retained lands to a rural holding zone. And the condition for removing the holding would be a stage 2 archaeological assessment by a licensed consultant archaeologist.
Okay. So just one more comment for everybody is I'm still concerned about intensification of small lakes, and Stones Lake is a small lake. So maybe Eric, put that in your back pocket in terms of an intensification policy if Allison agrees, but I'll leave it up to you guys. Thank you.
Sorry, also through you, Mayor Hunt, there are additional conditions. We also required that the applicant enter into a development agreement with the municipality. And it's to be registered on title to the severed lots, and it's to contain the 5 recommendations set out in the scoped environmental impact study prepared by JP2G consultants for the protection of lake water quality, recommended erosion and sediment control measures, and also meeting the Ministry of Conservation and Parks butternut tree requirements. And also to contain the recommendations 2A and B set out in page 6 of the land use compatibility and aggregate impact assessment prepared by JP2G regarding the 30-meter vegetative buffer on the severed lot along the front line abutting Stones Lake Road with a warning clause related to the potential future aggregate extraction and related impacts. So that is required to be registered on title as well.
Thanks, Alana. So just one more question maybe for you, Eric. How many lots are there? 3 or just 2?
3.
3? For sure?
Yes, it's through you, Mayor Hunt. That's correct. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So, Eric, are you comfortable that all the conditions mentioned by Alana have been satisfied or are being satisfied by us passing this resolution?
Thank you, Mayor Hunt, through you. So this zoning bylaw amendment is one of the conditions. So the applicant will be required to satisfy the balance of the conditions to the county's satisfaction. So, as an example, Alana mentioned the requirement for a development agreement. We're not bringing this forward to council at this time because we're not satisfied we have a suitable legal description yet. We'll likely have that when the reference plan is deposited and we're provided with a copy that we can describe the lands properly, the lands that the agreement pertains to. So that'll come forward in the future. At this time, we're satisfied that we can move forward with the zoning bylaw amendment, which would satisfy one of the conditions of consent. Thank you.
And is it to satisfy all the conditions, would that have to be done before a building permit is issued?
Yes, thank you. And through you, Mayor Hunt. So yes, that's correct. You wouldn't be able to get a building permit to build until the lots are created, and the lots can't be created until they're registered. That can't happen until the conditions are all cleared. Thank you.
Okay, so what we're dealing with tonight is just the zoning section of it, and then all the other conditions would have to be satisfied prior to moving to a building. Any further questions of council? Councillor Perrier.
Okay, so Alana, you said the conditions have to be met. Is there a target date for it or?
Yes, excuse me, through you, Mayor Hunt. Thank you. The conditions have to be met by April 29th of 2024.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of what, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any further questions of council?
Are we allowed to speak?
No.
Am I allowed to speak?
No.
But she was from County Brentford.
She was a delegation that we brought in. You can only speak at a council meeting as a delegation. So this was a delegation that we had brought in to provide additional information to council and the public.
She said some wrong things, in my opinion. Very much.
Councillor Rigglehoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it sounds like this just didn't come about this year. It sounds like it's been going on for, was it 3 or 4 years, maybe?
10 years.
Oh, 2005, all right. And just to clarify, so talking about sensitive lakes and small lakes, as everyone's concerned with, being on a Conservation Authority board the last few years, I know that our waterways are very important. So it has been satisfied that it's no longer a sensitive lake, as they were claiming it was 30 years ago?
Eric, are you able to speak to the sensitivity of the lake or lack thereof?
I can confirm that. I don't know, Alana. I don't believe it is. That would have for sure come up. Alana, I don't know if you have that information available at the moment or.
No, I don't have it. I can check the planner's report here if you don't mind, Eric, just giving me a second through you, Chair Hunt. So they did submit an environmental impact study, and in that study, they did make recommendations related to dealing with the vegetative water setbacks, erosion, sedimentation, revegetation, that sort of thing. But I don't have anything specific right now on that.
But would that not have to be satisfied, or that be dealt with as they're going through the archaeological studies, et cetera, for the conditions? Like I said earlier, we're just dealing here with a zoning. Those other conditions would be dealing with that part of it.
Through you, Chair Hunt, yes, the planner at the county reviewed those studies that were provided by the consultant in great depth and did a very detailed planning report for the township. And she was satisfied with the details that were in the study, or the studies. Thank you.
Mayor Hunt, I'm just looking at the county Schedule A here. Again, it would have applied to the lot creation stage. It's not really pertinent to the zoning bylaw amendment, but the at capacity lakes are identified by kind of a bolded line with kind of dots around them. So you got Norway Lake, you've got Herds Lake, kind of not further to the north, you've got White Lake, it looks like. Stones Lake is not identified as an at capacity lake.
Thank you. So there'll be other opportunity as it moves on to a building permit stage, that if the public wants to comment, or at any point prior to the building on these lots, if anyone from the public wants to do a delegation. So once again, what we're doing here is just dealing with the zoning. So is council comfortable with me proceeding? Okay, so the resolution as presented, all in favor? And that's carried, thank you. So Madawaska Street docks. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. The council recommends that a committee be established for the purpose of making a recommendation to council on what, if anything, should be done in Madawaska Street, including docks. And furthermore, the council approves bylaw 63-2022 being a bylaw to execute a license of occupation docks on Township land, Madawaska Street. And furthermore, the council approves existing docks are permitted to remain until October 29th, 2023, pending that the dock owner enters into a license of occupation agreement with the township. However, no docks, boat lifts, etc. are to be stored on township property. Dock owners who enter into a license of occupation agreement with the township are permitted to keep their docks installed and store boat lifts on top of their docks if they so choose. And furthermore, items stored on township property shall be removed at the owner's expense. And furthermore, that council instructs staff to inform the ratepayers of Madawaska Street of the decision of council. So I'll remind council of the public meeting that we had, and we had healthy discussion here. So this is the decision, recommendation that has been brought forward from staff. I'll open up to questions from council. Councilor Rigglehoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say I like this. This is a good plan moving forward with the Madawaska Street, our front street, for sure.
Thank you. Anything further? Councilor Perrier.
Just a quick question. So Allison, the idea is for the committee to come up with a plan, right?
That is correct.
So the target date is the same that what was in the previous planner's workload, correct?
No, that is not correct. The date of the agreement is to expire October 29th, 2023. So that would be next October. The current one was, the one that's currently in place is October 1st, 2022.
Okay, all right. So we still, I think you and I and the mayor have been chatting about this for a while, that we need a plan for Madawaska Street, right? So that's the
Yes.
intent of the committee?
Yes.
Say good. Thank you.
Anything further from council? All in favor of the staff recommendation as presented? Carried. Griffith property. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that as a result of the public meeting held September 19, 2022, council declare Part 1 of Lot 9, Concession 2, along the shore of the Madawaska River, Lot 9, Concession 2, and between Concessions 2 and 3 in the geographic township of Griffith, be deemed surplus and transferred to Kelly Wren. And furthermore, the council agrees to purchase Part 4 of Lot 9, Concession 2, along the shore of the Madawaska River, Lot 9, Concession 2, and between Concession 2 and 3 in the geographic township of Griffith. Questions of council? All in favor of the motion presented? Carried. Building permit report. You want to speak to that, Allison?
So as you can see, we are doing very well. So to date, there have been 105 total permits and 25 million in values. Last year at this date, we were at 21 million, so we're a little bit ahead. So hopefully this trend continues for the remainder of the year.
Questions of council? Building inspector.
This is just to advise council that our building inspector is being utilized by the town of Renfrew in the event of vacation or sickness. We will be compensated for in the same manner that we compensate them for use of their staff. So this is just an information item. So if you do hear something on the street, we are working together.
And this is similar to, we do this with McNabb as well with their CBO?
Yes, that is correct.
Questions of council?
My face.
Councillor Perrier.
I was just wondering, Allison, is this part of the initial planning agreement that you drafted and council approved?
No, this is not.
Okay, thank you.
And Finance and Administration. Asset Management Plan. You want to speak to that, Renee?
Yes, thank you. So this is a memo to provide, you could see as attached, 10-year capital requirements projected for asset replacement. So as you know, in June, Council approved the 2022 Asset Management Plan, which included strategies for asset replacement. This is current assets. The reason this is in a memo format is that it will form as part of a 10-year long-range capital forecast, which will include other components. So as we approve the development charges, there's some growth components that come in within the next 10 years and other capital requirements. Today, what I'm demonstrating to you is what the updated asset replacement looks like when considering the strategies within our new asset management plan. In the future, and it would be with the new council, the 10-year long-range capital forecast would be approved, which would include the other components, and then would be up for, as mentioned before, reconsideration or consideration during budgeting processes annually.
Thank you. So if I understand this correctly, this is a staff recommendation that will be brought to the new council for approval along with the additional information.
Yes, that is correct. It's based off a strategy within the 2022 asset management plan. Staff would go through the assets and place them as needed. However, this is still a capital forecast of what would be recommended. And the next council would approve actual expenditure of these projects. This is not approving expenditure of them.
Okay, thank you. Questions of council? Oh, sorry, Councilor McPherson.
Not really a question, just more thanks to staff for the hard work that's gone into putting this together. I realize that this is no small feat, and working with a new system, but I think the new system is going to provide many benefits going forward. So, thanks to the staff for their hard work, and look forward to seeing these things come to fruition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Strategic Communication Plan, Allison?
So this is one of my goals for 2022 was to work on communication to see what could be done to improve it. With looking at what other municipalities do, it's quite frequently they had a communication plan similar to this. So after reviewing a number, this is a draft document that has been prepared. But as a result of this, attached to this, or at the end of this document, there is what is called a council summary, and it basically just is a quick, brief overview of what's happened during a council meeting. The County of Renfrew has recently started doing this. It's just a 3-page document to allow ratepayers to quickly see what was discussed at a council meeting without having to dedicate time, an hour or 2 hours, to see what actually was discussed. And then if they do wish, they can scroll through the meeting to watch a particular segment. So I think there's definitely merit. The one that is attached is from August. So this is actually what was done at the August council meeting. So this is provided as a draft just to allow council to review, to provide comments, and then a final will be brought forward to October for endorsement.
Is it the intention of staff to keep providing this in the short run so that council can get used to it and maybe try to perfect it prior to the new council, or?
So not the actual plan, but the summary?
The summary.
Yep, I can work with staff to have that completed for this meeting, or it will probably be on a monthly basis, so that if there's special council meeting, it can all be provided in one document.
Yeah, and I believe that's what we're doing at the county. It's not, it's the regular council meetings that we get the executive summary, and it's certainly, like, the county council meetings last, you know, a full day. So this thing, there's been good comments from the public that they're able to hone in the area that they're interested to see if it was discussed, and if they have more questions, then they can go to YouTube and watch at least that segment of it. Questions of council? Yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I think this will be good for a new council coming in to understand as well, you know, the communication process, who they should be communicating with. So I think that this is going to be very helpful. Thank you. Compliance Audit Committee, moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved, the council approved bylaw 57-2022 being a bylaw to appoint a joint compliance audit committee. Renee, do you want to speak to that, or Allison?
So this is a committee that we need to form as part of the election. It's formed every 4 years. Excuse me. We have Mr. David Stewart, who has been a representative for the last 2 elections. He has agreed again. We did put up a public notice asking if anyone would want to participate. Unfortunately, nobody thought this was a fun activity, so we did convince Mr. Stewart to represent us once again.
Thank you. Questions of council? All in favor of the motion? Carried. And electronic monitoring, moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved, the council approves policy 504, electronic monitoring of employees policy as presented. Allison, no, Renee.
Thank you. This policy attached is to comply with a new regulation under the Employment Standards Act, under Bill 88. The policy is for electronic monitoring of employees. It just, you could see it outlines how the township monitors employees and when will this monitoring happen, and then and the purpose of obtaining the information. The policy attached aligns with the policy that was passed at the county level. And yeah, so through this, we're meeting all the legislated requirements for the policy for October 11th.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Perrier.
I'm sorry, but I have to laugh because when I read this, I had to rub my eyes thinking that it's a conspiracy theory, but I read the whole report, so I understand what the gist of it is.
Thank you. Anything further, Councillor McPherson?
So just to ensure that that staff members don't feel like they're being trapped or whatever, I'm assuming that with the passing of this, that there will be an information session where you'll bring staff together and walk through in detail each of the different components, just so that there's no surprises down the road.
That is correct. The intent of it is, it doesn't change practice. The intent of it is for employees to understand that, yeah, that there's electronic monitoring of assets that belong to the township. Normally, I think it was unofficial or in different policies when there's a cellular usage of township-owned property. So this has always been the case. So this hasn't changed anything. It's just required to have it directly in a policy. But yes, we would be informing staff.
Thank you.
Anything further? Councillor Perrier.
Just one more question, Renee. Does this policy or this whatever we're doing, does it track what sites employees get on in terms of the internet?
The intent at this point would not be this. The policy is just stating that if it was required, we would have the ability to do so.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion as presented? Carried. Nothing under act? Okay. Oh, yes. Electoral boundaries, draft submission, Allison.
So we do, I do have a draft that is ready. Unfortunately, it's not ready to be circulated. I'm still waiting on some responses and comments back from outside organizations regarding this matter. So a document will be circulated in the next day or so. The draft we have is pretty good, but I would appreciate that once I do circulate it, that you do take time to provide feedback to make it as strong a document as we can going forward. We do have petitions online. There's petitions in local businesses. So we are having some pretty good response with that. We have a motion from the County of Renfrew in opposition of what's being proposed. So, and we also have a meeting with the commission on October 26th where the mayor will make a delegation.
And before I open up to council, for your information, Allison and I met with MP Gallant and MP Scott Reed in Carleton Place last week. We had a very good meeting, and Scott showed us that, what was happening with the Lanark, there's changes that was really affecting them as well. And he was able to provide us with some information that we're able to use in the document that we've been working putting together. I feel it's a very, very important issue for the community, for the Township of Greater Madawaska, and I encourage all of council, when you get this document, is to give it the time, because we get one chance at that. That's October 26th, and we have to, if there's any points that we missed or anything you could see that maybe could add to it, we're very willing to update the document as part of the presentation. Thank you. Questions of council? Councilor McPherson.
So yesterday I received a phone call on this matter, and from a ratepayer just looking for some general information. The document that's being prepared, will it have talking points in it, or would it be possible for staff to provide just a number of specific points about this that we would have at our fingertips, so that when we're talking to individuals, the thing that always concerns me is not getting things accurate. And I'm no expert on this, and so it would be nice to have just a few bullet points just to explain the concerns and exactly what is happening.
I believe once you see the way the document's been drafted, that will be easily at your fingertips.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
But if it's not, then absolutely there's something we can prepare.
Okay, thank you.
And if it should be changed, that probably means that it should be changed for the presentation as well. So that's good. But there will be an executive summary as well that would have all those points that you're talking about. Anything further? Seeing none. Now, no active, no community and health, no community parks. Minutes. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved that the following minutes are approved by Council. August 19, 2022, special council meeting. August 22nd, 2022, regular council meeting. August 26, 2022, special council meeting. September 13, 2022, public meeting. All in favor? And carried. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved the council meeting of September 19, 2022 at 6:29 p.m. Enter into a closed session pursuant to Section 239 of the Municipal Act regarding litigation or potential litigation, Smithson Lane, personal matters about an identifiable individual, CAO performance evaluation. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier, that be it resolved, the council instructs the following as a result of the closed meeting. Litigation about Smithson Lane, personal matters about an identifiable individual, CAO performance appraisal, proceed as directed. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier. Be it resolved that the following bylaws, 57-2022, appoint joint compliance audit committee, 59-2022 zoning amendment, ZB 2206.4, 61-2022 zoning amendment, ZB 2206.5, 62-2022 zoning amendment, ZB 2206.6, 63-2022 license of occupation docks on township land be deemed read a second and final time and passed by council. And furthermore, that 64-2022 confirmatory be deemed read a first, second, and final time, passed by council at the regular council meeting held September 19, 2022. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Frost, seconded by Councillor Perrier, be it resolved the regular council meeting of September 19th, 2022 be adjourned at 6:44 p.m. All in favor? Carried.